Now, if you're looking to bring instant charm and tranquility to your home, then a water feature is a must. All you need is a pot, some sealant, and some plants. This DIY was inspired by my travels to the East, where water plays such an important cultural role. So with that in mind, you know the history. Let's get to making our own. So obviously you need a pot to start off first. I've chosen a terracotta pot. Why? Because I love it. I love them. Of course, you could go with a concrete pot and it's going to do exactly the same thing. So depending on budget, that's what you need to work with. If you've got a painted concrete pot, all you need to do is sand off the paint and get down to the raw concrete, because then it will work exactly the same. So first step that I need to do is make sure that I've cleaned it and I've cleaned the outside. So let's get to that. Right, pot has got a good once over. Now, of course, every pot comes with a hole. Haha, big problem, okay, because we want to put water inside here. So the first thing we need to do is to get a sealer, and we are going to seal up this hole. Now, to make life a little bit easier, I've got these 2 wooden blocks, and I'm just going to pop one there, pop one over here. All right. You can use a silicone, which you can get from your local hardware store, any type of epoxy sealer, which you could put on there, and make sure that you follow the instructions of whatever product you are getting, and seal it up. And there you have it. Whatever the manufacturer's instructions are, stick to it, because water has a funny way of finding the weakest link and making its way out. Okay, now that is done, we can leave that to dry, and next I'm going to start with the sealer. Obviously, because this is a terracotta pot, we know that it's porous, so if I had to put water in here, the water would just make its way out and seep. So for that, what we're going to use is this water-based sealer, which can be used on many different things. So don't stress if you think, oh well, I'm going to have so much of this left. Guys, it works like a charm, and this can be used on tiles, can be used on wall tiles, floor tiles, terracotta tiles, cement bricks, as a water repellent and a sealer. It also repels oils and any fatty products, so it really is quite versatile. Now, don't be scared when I open it, because it looks just like milk. Ha! Look at that. What is that going to do? It does the job. Now, guys, at this point, see the viscosity of this. It really is just like water. Okay. Now, at this point, if you've got a concrete pot, all right, you can add in one of these colors. Now, this is like super trick, super trick, because they come in 20 ml bottles, or you get in a 100 ml bottle. And in 1 liter, it needs 20 mils. So it's perfect. So if you have got a concrete pot that you're wanting to color up with something a bit zhuzh and a bit blingy, you just add that to it and it changes the color. This is an inky blue. So imagine, boring concrete pot turned into something amazing. But this is terracotta and it looks stunning and gorgeous. Because it's a water-based sealant, guys, it's nice and easy to use. Please do decant. Why? Because you can cross-contaminate your sealant. And how does that work? Well, if there was a bit of fungi or bacteria on the pot that you're painting, you're taking that and putting it into the main pot. And that's when it's going to go wrong. Okay, so always make sure that you decant. And remember, guys, the other thing is that this particular sealant is also free from any toxins, which is why plants are going to like it. Look. You can see, because it's terracotta, because it's porous, look how it's just sucking it up. For the sealant to have the ultimate effect in this project, it is recommended that you apply the product on the inside of the pot as well as on the outside. Always follow the instructions on the product you're using. I'm loving this. Look at the contrast. Look at that contrast. That's why I'm choosing not to paint the lip, because that little two-tone number that's going on there is quite sexy. All right, now remember, you've got to do the bottom of the pot as well. So let's just tip it forward and give it a good paint. All right, guys, this is my third coat. I have allowed time in between for it to dry, and because it's a very porous product, being the terracotta, it does need 3 coats. Remember, what I'm using here is a gloss sealant, and that's why we're getting this beautiful look going on here. So all we need to do now is leave it to dry for at least 24 hours. We've got the plug that we've plugged up our drainage hole, and then we can get to putting the plants in. All right, guys, 24 hours. You can feel it. You can actually feel the seal on here. And I love the color. I was a bit worried that we were going to compromise on the color of the terracotta, but in fact, all that it's done is enhance it. Yeah, so far, a really happy pumpkin. And the seal in here, perfect. All good to go. Right, so let's get to the plants. Okay, guys, what we've got here is 1 trug with some water in it. We've got these little pots which are specifically for water plants, and you can understand why. So the roots would sit in here, the water can move in and out. They're fantastic. You can pick these up at any garden center in different sizes as well. So I've got those over there, and I've got some gravel. Now, guys, don't go fancy with the gravel. Don't get something that's going to cost you a lot of money. Just use the most El Cheapo gravel that you can get. This is just a doozy mix, and it's going to do the job. Now, in my trug here, I've got a beautiful selection of water-loving plants. That's what they love. They can have their feet right in the damp. No rising damp. Going to be worried about here. I've got lovely Elegia capensis, which gets these little flowers that the birds just love. This can be grown in quite a dry bed, as well as have its feet very, very wet. When it gets a bit tall and scraggly and starts looking a bit out of sorts, you just give it a good haircut. Very good haircut. So what we're going to do is, and you'll see that yes, they are all out of their nursery bags, and what we've done is we've just taken the nursery bags off and we've washed them under the tap. Now, when you're going to do that, use the hose pipe and wash them where the water is needed, okay, like in a garden bed. And then you just take off that excess soil, and it's important that you do that, because you're going to see why. Because you don't want all those bits of bark, the potting soil, floating around in your pond. It'll be a disaster. So you want to try and get off as much of the growing medium as possible. So we're going to take one of these little babies. Okay, let's move that to the side. And we're going to pop a bit of gravel in. Okay, just as our base. And then we're going to get this little guy in here. Now, yes, we are going to be squeezing it in, but remember, this is what happens. These plants will send their roots out through these little guys here. That's what it's all about. Okay, so they will make their way through here and eventually grow like a mat on the bottom of our beautiful pot. So there it is. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm simply going to take a bit more of the gravel and pop that round the top. And before you do anything else, I want you to take this baby and you put it inside your trug of water. Now, why are we doing this? Well, what we're doing here is, it doesn't matter what you've got or where you've bought your pebbles or how careful you've been to wash the soil off it. Have a look in here. If you look, you can actually see the dust particles floating on the surface of the water. So we want to get rid of all of that before we're going to take our baby and put it into our pot. So just swish it around a bit as well. Okay, and cleaned it up. Ah, nice. Okay, let's plant up some others. Okay guys, let's go with the other one. So I really like papyrus. Papyrus is very tough. Guys, it is super tough. So what I am going to do here is just give it a light pruning. There we go. And you see, even although you've washed, see there? Soil coming off. Soil, soil, soil. Okay. Right, so in goes the baby. Nice. And then I'll gravel around it. Spectacular. Into the water it goes. Right, the last one that I'm actually going to use in here is this. So this plant has to be one of the most versatile plants that any gardener can have. In fact, if you don't have this plant in your garden, you're seriously missing out on a stalwart. It's called a chorus. It's golden acorus or golden edge, acorus golden edge. Different garden centers name it differently, but look out for this beautiful golden foliage. And it can cope with frost. It can grow right down on the sea. And of course, it can grow with wet feet or just in the garden. Zhuzh up her hair and then pop her into the water. And now we're set to go. Oh, it's looking good. And look here. See there? Look how the water's running. That shows the sealant working perfectly. Ha ha! Love it! Alright, so we've got our babies. Now I have got a few cobbles that I've had left over, and I might use these just to raise one or two of the plants, especially the acorus, and that's the only one that's probably going to need that. But why we only fill it 3/4 the way through is because when we add this, obviously we're displacing water and it's going to create more volume. So we don't want to put some in and then fill it all the way to the top, and then the thing is going to be spilling over the edges. There are a few bits still floating around here, but these will settle in no time. Okay, let's get our papyrus in. And I think I am going to put the papyrus on a block and just dunk it inside the water that you've had your plants in. Oh, there we go. Pretty. Now we just fill it up to the top. And our job is done.